Stream on this Tuesday, August, what is it, 9th already? My gosh. Man. No, August 10th. No. What is today? Yeah, it's August 10th. Holy smokes. It's August 10th. Man, my brain is fried. My brain is fried from the summer. It cannot come too quickly enough that these kids go back to school. I'm going to tell you that right now. Welcome in, everyone. Today on the show, welcome to the Real Estate Investing Show. We are going to be talking about huge risks in real estate investing and how you can avoid them. Like we all know that investing is risky, right? But how do you mitigate some of those risks? I think that real estate investing, if done correctly, can be one of the safest investments you can make, because at the end of the day, you have a tangible asset, right? Very often people are buying paper assets that don't exist in reality. They don't exist in anywhere but paper. So real estate investing to me is one of the best and truest ways to build wealth. But yes, there are pitfalls. There are landmines that you need to look out for. So last week we sent out a survey to our newsletter asking what topics that you wanted to hear about. And overwhelmingly, you said risks. How do we prevent against these risks problems? So we're going to address that on today's live stream. So we're going to let everyone join us here and make sure. So we wait till YouTube sort of sends out those alerts before we go here, and I want to make sure that our chat overlay is working. Let's see here if that's working or not. Okay, drop me a chat. Let me know you guys can see us. Okay, we had some issues with YouTube has been having issues, and it's YouTube's fault. It's not mine. On the back end with some of their chat structure. So if you can see us, give me a thumbs up. Like this show. Like the content. Stephanie says, hello, Clayton. Thank you, Stephanie. Now I officially can see. Can you hear and see us okay? Good. We've got people watching on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Hey, Susie Q. Good to see all of you joining us. Good there. Welcome in. So we're going to start the show in a few minutes. I like to let the alerts go out from YouTube. We timed the release of YouTube alerts because if you're a subscriber to the channel and you turn on that little bell notification, YouTube sends out alerts when you're live, right? Or when we release a new video. And now you can actually select the granularity of how you receive your alerts and notifications on YouTube. So you can select in the little bell notification. And YouTube, we found like they just take like 10 minutes sometimes to send out these alerts. They got to step this up. Not sure what the issue is here. So Stephanie is here. Or Susie Q is here. And here's Stephanie. Welcome in. If you'd like to be a part of our newsletter, by the way, so that you are added to our email list, it's very simple to do. Just go over to morrisinvest.com/email. It's morrisinvest.com/email, and you'll be added to our email newsletter list because we sent out a newsletter asking what topics you'd like to hear covered on the show. So please sign up for our newsletter. Morris Invest. morrisinvest.com/email. Okay, all right. There it is. Right there's a link. Thank you for popping that up there. Hope everyone's summer is going well. Are you guys doing any traveling? Hello from Washington State, Lindsay. So weird. You'd think that the alerts would be faster here on YouTube, but they are just not. They're slow as a turtle. The Senate is meeting right now on this massive infrastructure bill. that is about to be passed. So this massive $1 trillion infrastructure package is about to be passed in the Senate, but that doesn't mean that it's actually completed yet. Then it's going to go to the House of Representatives, where the House of Representatives, you have progressives there who are saying, wait a second, we're not going to vote on anything until you at least include that $3.5 trillion human interest package as well as part of this. So that we have interesting times right now in the Senate. And of course, they're going to go on vacation again for the month of August. Wouldn't it be nice? You just have a whole July vacation basically, and now you're taking you're going to take another month off during a pandemic, by the way. Sure, here we're going to get started in a minute. I just want to make sure that as many people as possible can join us here on the stream. YouTube has been having some issues lately. They've been updating and changing some of their back end infrastructure, and it's been a little bit of a mess. All right, everybody. All right. Thanks. I got the high end type, but then see, I have this like cowlick in the back that I can't get to go down. I mean, even if I put like a brick resting on it, says Lindsay says nice haircut. So even if since I was a little kid, I've had this like spiky cowlick area. I don't know what to do about it. Oh well. What are you going to do? What can you do? All right. So let's get started here. All right. So welcome into the Investing in Real Estate show. Today we're going to talk about the top 8 real estate investing risks and how you can avoid them. You know, last week we sent out a survey to our newsletter group asking what topics that you wanted to learn about, because we love to hear from you. And one of the most requested topics was how to avoid real estate risks. So today I'm going to deliver on that. And by the way, I should mention, if you're not already on my email list, what are you missing? A lot, because we publish great content there. And you can sign up right now by going to morrisinvest.com/email. Again, that's morrisinvest.com/email. We send out lots of great real estate content, inspiration, and news in the real estate industry every week, totally free. So we hope you find real value with our newsletter. And thank you for responding to the questions we asked. So let's dive into the top 8. These are my top 8 real estate risks and how you can avoid them, or how you can at least mitigate them on today's show. All right, number 1, vacancies. This is of course, could be the mother of all pain points, right? Vacancies in a property. After all, you get an investment property and you want it to produce cash flow, and lo and behold, it's vacant. And now that cash is not coming in. You know, most people know that vacancies are the number 1 risk when it comes to real estate investing. Now, we have some short vacancies that are going to be expected. You absolutely will have, when a tenant turnover of 1, 2, 3 weeks until a new tenant is placed in the property. We get that. That's always going to happen. But what you actually don't want, of course, is an extended vacancy that lasts for months and months. And let me just say, we are in a housing crisis right now in the United States. We just don't have enough homes. And there is a rental demand that is off the charts across the United States. So if you are in a rental market where there is a large vacancy rate, that's a question you need to be asking is, number 1, why? Is it high crime? Are jobs leaving? Like, why is this vacancy rate so high? When in the United States, the demand is off the charts. So you do not want a vacancy that lasts for months and months. To me, there's probably something inherently wrong with the entire investment that you have in that situation. And there are a couple of things that go into avoiding vacancies, okay? Number 1 is you need to be investing in the right market where there is job growth and diversity. And when I say job growth, I don't mean just one business in that town. I mean a diversity of jobs, and not just one oil refinery. I'm talking healthcare industry, universities, technology companies, telecommunicate. It doesn't matter, but just more than just one is what I'm getting at. Okay. So you want to have, job growth in an area. It's very easy to see census data, who's moving to an area. Are they moving or are they leaving? Like in the case of like Detroit or Michigan, like they're leaving, right? People are leaving California. They're moving out of California. They're moving out of certain states and certain areas. So why would you invest in that area at that time? So that's a number one thing to avoid at the beginning when you're starting that process. And number two on my list is you need to be working with the right management company. So even in areas where you might have some population decrease, is your property management team skilled in marketing the properties? Like, what are they doing to find tenants? How are they marketing this property? Are they using the latest technology to get tenants into the property? Are they putting up signs? What are they doing? Why is this property just sitting there vacant? And they might spin some yarns about the property, and you need to be aware if they're telling you the truth or if they're lying to you. See, where we invest, where most of our investment properties are in West Texas and those areas, is we're able to put a new tenant in that property very, very quickly if a tenant moves out, because we've got great property management and we've got great job growth and an influx of people coming in. So the demand is off the charts. So again, I think if you've got a high vacancy rate in your town, it's seriously time to consider a change or looking at your overall investment strategy. Maybe even talking to a realtor and thinking about selling that property. If you've got people leaving, crime is going up, and you've got a property that's sitting there not cash flowing, big problem. Number two on my list is negative cash flow. Now, the whole point of investing in real estate is to make money. So you do not want to get yourself into a deal that has cash flow problems. And the best way to avoid this problem is to run your numbers ahead of time and then run them again and triple check them. Make sure you're accounting for any possible expenses, including financing in your formula. And I have a whole comprehensive video on internal rate of return that we're going to link for you here in the show, and we'll put it in the show description as well. We'll also link it right here in the chat as we're watching this. Again, IRR, internal rate of return. If you once you understand your numbers at the beginning, numbers don't lie. Don't get emotional about the investment. If on paper, and you've run them multiple times, you see that the cash flow, you've spoken to the property management team, you know how much you're going to get on this property, you know what your mortgage will be, right, based on the interest rate, you know what your tax benefits will be based on the write-offs. Is it a new construction property, so you're not going to have any expenses in the first number of years? Or is it a rehab property and you're going to be investing over time in deferred maintenance? You're going to be, upgrading water heaters. We'll wait 5 years for the roof. We'll do the windows in a few years. All of those things need to be in your numbers, and you need to be ready to pay for them when that time comes. So making sure that you're not negative cash flowing. I'll tell you a little story. A number of years ago, we had a client that was working with us at Morris Invest and buying an investment property, I think their second property. And I said, well, how many investment properties do you currently have? And they said, we have one. It's our very first townhome that we bought in near outside of Philadelphia. My wife and I were young. We got married after college. We bought this townhome, and then we moved because now we started having children, so there wasn't enough space. And we held on to this townhome. And I like to say that this is the allure of the first property investment. They're emotionally attached to this property, right? It was the place they bought together right after they got married. And so they're attached to it. And they think, well, this will probably be good investment property. So I said, okay, let's run the numbers here. I'll do this as a service to you on the phone right now. Let's run the numbers. How much are you cash flowing? What are the taxes, et cetera, on this townhome? And it turns out after we ran the numbers, they were negative cash flow on this property. Even though they thought it, and they said, well, they basically told me on the phone, well, we think in 10 years it might become a good investment property. And I said, did you hear what you just said to me? In 10 years, it might become a good investment property? What is it right now? You are negatively cash flowing this property right now. You're losing every month because they had forgotten to take into account their taxes. And so it was negative every month and every year was this property. And they said, what would you do? And I said, look, I can't give you advice, financial advice on what to do with your investment property. I can tell you, though, if I owned that property, I would be on the phone this afternoon calling a realtor and getting this thing listed for sale because you were losing money on this every day. And they actually did. They sold the property and they were able to use that money to fund and actually get investments, which was great, that are actually cash flowing. So don't be negative cash flow, especially if you're emotionally attached to a property. It doesn't make sense. Run your numbers. Watch that other video on internal rate of return. That's a real powerful video to show you how these numbers work. All right, the next thing on my list is investing in a bad real estate market. This is how you can avoid major risks and problems with your investments. So investing in the wrong market can bring you a whole host of problems. I could talk about this one all day and all night, but instead I'll direct you to a longer video that I did that has my checklist of things that I look for in a rental market. So we'll link that one up as well in the description. Go through that. At a high level, I'll just talk about the basics here, okay? Is it a landlord-friendly state? Meaning, I just read a story today about a tenant that has been in a property for 20 years. This tenant has been squatting in a property and not paying for 20 years. Yeah. Guess what? I would never invest in that particular state where that happened. And so different states have different laws, and some are landlord friendly and some aren't. Some have high crime, some have low crime. Some have job growth, some don't. Some are boring, where you're not going to get the fluctuations and craziness like you might experience in a bubble market like San Francisco. I personally like boring markets, right? So the rental market is incredibly important. How does it deal with tourism? How does it deal with pandemic? Like Las Vegas, if there's a pandemic, what happens? Well, guess what? Everyone loses a job and the whole city shuts down. I don't invest there. So again, watch my longer video on rental markets, but this is an incredibly powerful way of avoiding these riskier mistakes. Again, it's all about, I know it's like a cliche, but location, location, location. I had a client reach out to us recently that said, I just don't understand how I can invest here in California. I really want to get started real estate investing, but everything I'm looking at is like $1.3 million. And I don't know how to make the numbers work. I don't know. I'm looking at the numbers. They're just not making sense to me. And I said, yes, they are making sense to you. I would never invest in California. They are making total sense to you. You're reading the numbers correctly. You're just trying to emotionally massage them because you have some emotional connection to California. I don't invest in my own backyard. I invest in the best rental markets, thousands of miles away from where I live. So don't be emotionally attached to your backyard. Again, rental markets matter. All right, next on my list, lawsuits. Oh, you don't want to hear about these, do you? Lawsuits. Garrett Sutton, the great attorney, Robert Kiyosaki's attorney, he is a friend of ours, a friend of the show. He runs a legal firm called Corporate Direct. He's written a book called The Loopholes of Real Estate Investing. He's a rich dad advisor, brilliant, brilliant attorney. He says that a real estate investor shouldn't worry about if they'll get sued, but when they will get sued. Now, I'm not here to give you legal advice, but I can tell you how important it is to set up the right liability structure for you and your investments, okay? So seek out legal advice from an attorney who understands real estate investing. Right? You can go to Corporate Direct, tell them we sent you, they're fantastic, and talk to them on the phone about setting up the proper legal liability and limited liability company, et cetera, for your investments. Now, I've personally never had to deal with a lawsuit from tenants. Never had to deal with it yet. But you want to be protected in case, God forbid, a tenant slips and falls and there's some issue that didn't get addressed in the lease and with your property management team and all of that. Like, you just want to be protected so you personally aren't being sued for your personal assets, your personal home, your kids' college fund, anything like that. You want to make sure that the LLC owns the rental property, the legal structure, and then that way if a tenant has an issue, they can sue the actual property and the property ownership of the LLC, but not you personally. Again, seek an attorney. Talk with the team from Corporate Direct. I'm not an attorney, but lawsuits, protect yourself against that. Don't make the mistake that I've seen many people make. We have a friend from high school who I saw at a reunion, and we were talking about real estate investing. He said he owned two townhomes in Philadelphia, and he had a tenant in one of them, and the tenant came home one night drunk and there was a sidewalk outside of the property that like was about this much in difference, between one slab and the other slab. She's loaded off her brain. She trips over the crack and hurts herself. Okay. So what does she do? She sues him. Okay. And I said, oh, good. I hope you had an LLC. I hope you had and he said, no, I didn't. So she sued him personally. And then he had to come out of pocket way more than he would have had to if he was under a limited liability company and he would have been protected, but he didn't. And so when I saw him like 6 months later, I'm like, you got an LLC set up now, didn't you? And he goes, I'm still working on it. I'm like, come on, man. Didn't you learn your lesson? Got to make sure you're protected. Next thing on my list, bad tenants. Bad tenants. Trust me when I say that getting a bad tenant is possibly one of the most frustrating things that can happen to you as a real estate investor. It's horrible when you have someone living in your investment property who doesn't have the respect to take care of the place or who doesn't want to pay rent. While there's no way to make sure that you never have a bad tenant, there are a few ways to mitigate this risk. First, you want to make sure that you have a great property management company that you're working with and that they have an extensive and thorough tenant screening process. Additionally, another layer of protection involves investing in landlord-friendly states. Should you actually have to terminate a tenant, or terminate sounds a little harsh, but kick out a tenant for not paying or destroying your property or something, you should have the right to do so. Okay? That's why I talk about landlord-friendly states. Look, I want to be pro-tenant. I want them to have a great place to live. We're building a brand new construction property for our clients at Morris Invest. Like they have granite countertops and vaulted ceilings and, heck, our team throws in a free flat screen TV for the tenants when they move in. We want them to have a great place to live. We also want them to pay their rent on the property, right? And look, the last thing a tenant should want is a bad record, meaning that they would have a eviction on their permanent record. And no one wants to rent to a person that has an eviction on their record. So they should want to keep up that property payment. They should also, hopefully they have a good job. They want to live in that great school district where we provided housing. It's a whole circle, right? We provide a great place to live. They pay on time. Everyone is happy. Okay, so a property management team should have a very stringent screening process in place to make sure that you're getting the best tenants in these properties. Next on my list is costly repairs. I've seen this one happen too often. An investor buys a house and all of a sudden it becomes a money pit. Ever see the Tom Hanks movie Money Pit from the 1980s? Let me tell you that things happen. Furnaces and water heaters break and they go out. But you can mitigate this risk in one of two ways. Either you work a comprehensive rehab into your numbers at the beginning, okay? So you're planning on this up front. You're buying a 60-year-old house. Okay, so what's on my list? New roof, new windows, okay? Maybe I need to upgrade all of the electricity in the house because it's still on knob and tube wiring. Maybe I need to update all of the plumbing. Insulation is awful. Maybe the electrical outlets aren't up to code. They're not updated. The list goes on, right? Maybe there's something wacky with the foundation that needs to be adjusted or fixed. Hiring a structural engineer. Maybe the new roof, chimney needs some fixing as well because it's a little shifty. These are all things that can happen in old homes. Planning for that, making sure that's all in your numbers is really important. But also, you could buy a new construction property. So in the past, we used to spend a lot of time doing old home repairs. Okay, that was really our bread and butter for, first 6 or 7 years of our company. When we realized that the time, attention, and effort it takes for us to pick out these older homes in neighborhoods, trying with whatever to find them, number one, and go through the process of whether it was a foreclosure, or a short sale, or the city owned it, or the bank owned it, and plucking these. And then to go through the process of renovating the home, and then we'd rip out walls and find something that was, oh my God, we didn't account for this. Way easier, way better for us was to say, screw that. We're focused on new construction. New construction, built from the ground up. So we know everything is perfect when we're done with it. And there's nothing hidden because it's built from the ground up. So that's another option, is buying a new construction property. And I highly suggest starting out with new components, new water heaters, new furnaces. Then that means you don't have a ton of expensive repairs to deal with. You just don't. You know, and that's the thing. Is if you spend that time at the beginning, maybe you're paying a little bit more because you're getting a brand new construction property in a brand new neighborhood in one of the best school districts. Then that property is going to last you way longer. And also, I should say, it's very alluring for people to jump on Zillow and look, oh, I found this property for $20,000. Clayton, do you think I should buy it? Like, hey, be my guest. It's been sitting on Zillow for 5-6 months. No one's touched it. And it's $20,000. Great. Wait till you actually buy that thing and the amount of headache it'll take you to get that thing up and running. There's probably a lot going on there that you have no idea about. Now, you might find some diamonds in the rough here and there. Great, good for you. I certainly have over the years. But as a long-term strategy, plucking these little ugly ducklings out of the way where you don't know what's behind the walls. You can get a quote from a contractor, but if he starts to discover something, he or she starts to discover something as they're ripping the walls out. Oh my God, we didn't realize there was black mold in here. Oh my God, we didn't realize there was asbestos hidden behind this. Now we have to do asbestos remediation, and we have to get the environmental certification for getting that removed. Oh my God. Happens. So be very careful. The next way to mitigate your risk is to try to avoid getting in too deep too fast. Don't over leverage yourself right out of the gate. Building wealth is a long-term game. So you'll get burned and discouraged if suddenly you're just swamped with so many different loans that you can't pay. Oftentimes we'll have people that will book a call with us at Morris Invest and want to get started, and they're ready. They want 10 properties. Don't do it. Slow down there, sailor. Just slow down. Just slow down. Take it one step at a time. Get that first property under your belt. Watch the cash flow come in. Watch the cash flow pay down the mortgage, right? Get the tax benefits of that. Get your spreadsheets in order. Make sure that you're nurturing your portfolio. If you start adding all of these properties in a matter of like a few weeks, with different loans, you're not going to be able to keep up. Take it slow. Be smart. Slow. Slow and steady wins the race. Always. Okay? Always. There's no get rich quick scheme. And in real estate investing, slow and steady wins this race. And next up is doing it alone. Don't try to be a hero. Do not try to do this alone. You need support in this journey. Again, my friend Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but he's written many books, a book that he wrote a few years ago, and we sat down and did an interview about it. We had his whole team, and it's a book called More Important Than Money. And more important than money is having a great team. So a great legal team, great property management team, great contractors, great accounting team, great CPA, all of those things. Surround yourself with people who know more than you do. I do. I surround myself with fantastic property managers, lawyers, accountants, mentors. I've got a great team here at Morris Invest, from Kelly to Lindsay to Nicole, the whole team that takes care of me and has to whip me in line. They're way more organized than I am. So they've got to say, Clayton, did you do this? I want those people surrounding me, because that's how you're going to win. You're not perfect. You cannot do this on your own. Whatever it takes, make sure you are surrounded by the right people who understand your goals and can help you reach them. As always, my team and I are here to support you on your journey. And if you want a fully done for you rental real estate experience and you want our team to walk you through that process, that's what we do. Just go over to our website, go to morrisinvest.com, and right there you'll click on a book a call button. Jump on the phone with us for 30 minutes. You pick the time that works for you, put in your phone number. Make sure your email address is correct, okay? People sometimes put their wrong email address in, or they put the wrong phone number and they say, hey, you never called me. Don't put the wrong phone number. So again, go to morrisinvest.com. We'll have a link in the show description below for you to go there. And again, pick a time that works for you. And you're also going to get a PDF download when you book a call. And we want you, before your phone call, to be ready. So it's a purpose-driven goals worksheet plus your freedom number cheat sheet. We just want you to fill those out, be very quick, but it really gives us an idea of what your goals are in real estate investing and what your overall financial goals are, and your history too. Really powerful worksheet for you to go through, and really gives you a sense of what your monthly expenses look like and how many rental properties it'll take for you to live financially free. So again, book a free call with us. We'll have a link below at morrisinvest.com. And thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. And I'd love to open it up for some Q&A now. Any questions you guys have? So I see some questions already being answered here. Let's see, Bill is here. Good to see you, Bill. Susie Q, Stephanie. Yeah, it's kind of like dog days of summer. Hope you guys are all doing great. Hopefully I answered a lot of your questions today. I'm losing my voice today. It's been like a really dry, no rain, so like it's all dusty. So I apologize for a scratchy voice. Charles Lewis, thank you for your question. Let me pop this up here on the screen. Charles Lewis. So good afternoon. Good afternoon, Morris. Thank you. My question today, when becoming an LLC, does it give you more opportunity to secure home loans or rehab loans? And if it does, then how? No, it doesn't give you more opportunities. I mean, if I should say, okay, so conventional financing, Charles, you're not going to be able to buy it in an LLC. So like if you booked a call with us and worked with us, we're going to see, first of all, what your financing options are. You know, we work with over 60 different lenders. So again, Charles, if you booked a call with us at Morris Invest, we'd look at what your situation is, and then we'd say, okay, Charles, we really think, you know, conventional financing is going to be the way to go, right? Interest rates are so low, and we'd work with a bank, and that would be purchasing the property in your name, not an LLC. And then after you close on the property, then we would point you in the direction of how you transfer that over to an LLC. It's cheap, it's very fast, and it's as Garrett Sutton writes about in his book, it's not a big issue. You'd first be acquiring the loan in your own name, and then you'd be transferring it to an LLC a short time later. But then you'd have conventional financing. If you have an LLC and you did non-recourse financing, that's a very powerful way of having the asset not tied to you personally, but now it's tied to the bank. They care about the asset. Okay. They don't care about you. And they frankly are, again, they're backing the asset, not you. And you can buy it in an LLC. So that's non-recourse financing. So it doesn't give you more, when you start the process of working on a non-recourse loan with our team, they'll tell you to set up an LLC because that's the way it would go. But you don't have to have an LLC, okay? And again, that's why I would talk with our team first so you don't just jump and start setting up LLCs that you don't need. Let's see. Nick says, are you going to build any triplexes or quadplexes in the future? We have, and we do, but that's not our bread and butter. We find that the tenants in those properties tend to stay less time. They're more transient. So we like to buy properties or build properties that single families and duplexes because tenants stay a very long time. So that's our focus. I mean, single families and duplexes. That's our main goal here. Let's see here. Rodrigo. Hi, thanks all for the info. What happens if any reason a property does not have a tenant for a long time? Can you comment on any risks about having the property empty for a long time? Well, Rodrigo, if you go back and watch the beginning of this video, which you can on a replay, so that's one of the very first things I talked about here was tenant vacancy. Yeah, I mean, look, things happen, right? Okay, pandemics happen. Okay, there are going to be things that are, inexplicable. Okay, but for the most part, we can sort of count on consistency. So pandemics are not all that frequent, I would say, right? So taking out COVID as an issue, you should be investing in areas like where we build our properties that have an incredible demand for tenants in the property. Like we have waiting lists for our properties because they're in the best school districts and they're new construction. So if you have a high vacancy rate, there's something else going on here. Like I'd want to say, wait a second, it's not the house itself, it's the neighborhood. Like crime is going up. People don't want to live there. The school district stinks. Jobs are leaving. So I would not want to invest in those particular areas. And so, yeah, I think you have some big structural issues if you got a property that's vacant for a long time. You may also want to find out, like, what is your property management team doing? Like, if it's vacant for longer than 2 weeks or 3, like something's going on here. Now, look, sometimes you have Christmas in the way, right? You have the holidays. People don't like to move during Christmas. So even us, with all of our bells and whistles and everything we do, sometimes that's a slow period. People just don't want to move during Christmas. So you might end up having, instead of 2 weeks, you might have 4 weeks of vacancy, a 1-month vacancy or something. And they move in at, just after the new year. So, like end of year tenant turnovers after, Thanksgiving into Christmas can be a tricky time as well. No, I wouldn't want to move during that time of the year, would you? Let's see here. Sherman Lambert. Hey, Sherman, do the non-recourse lenders you work with care where the down payment comes from? For example, Fund and Grow, or do they want you personally to bring the cash? That's a good question. Nicole, do we have an answer to that on, I don't think it matters. I mean, they want to know that first of all, they want to know that money has been in a bank account for some time, like that it's not just, the money just shows up one day. That's typical across all lenders. We just did a video here on the channel about how to prepare for the lending process. I would encourage you to check that video out. And we go over some of those things specifically. And we actually talked to our bankers and they gave us their answers on what they look for. So I would check that video out, Sherman, because it's pretty detailed and it comes right from their mouth. It comes right from the bankers' mouths on that question. And we specifically talked about funding in the account ahead of time. Don Elliott, is it difficult to change your LLC to your name to refinancing to your name? No, it's not difficult at all. No, we've done that multiple times. It's not difficult. And Don, thank you. By the way, someone forwarded me your email. Very, very kind of you, by the way. Don is a very kind. He's been with us now as a client. He's been very, very kind. And he asked if he could, because he bought my book called How to Pay Off Your Mortgage in 5 years. Was able to pay off his mortgage, I think, like right at the 5-year mark. So thank you. And he said he wanted to buy like 50 copies of the book. Unfortunately, there's not like a bulk discount code button. So honestly, the best thing to do is the way that you could do it, to set up like an Amazon Associates code. So become an Amazon Associate and then basically buy it from your own Amazon Associates ID, where then you would get a percentage discount on that. That's the best way to do like a bulk order, like if you wanted to buy 50 of them. So thank you so much, Don. That really was flattering. And I really appreciate it. And I figured I could address it right here since we have you live with us right now. Yeah, as Nicole points out, Don, it's just a quitclaim deed exchange. So, and yeah, check out our interview with Don, by the way. It's here on the channel. Don is a client. He's on his way to financial freedom. He's ready to give up that 2-hour commute in California. So check out his interview that we did here on the channel. No, Don, that's not a problem at all. But unfortunately, it's just the way that they struck. We've had a bunch of realtors reach out to us. And they want to be able to give our book out at their meetings. And they asked us if there was like a bulk discount. And we asked our printer of the books, and they said, no, it's just how they do it. So I wish there was. Like even if I personally wanted to order like 100 copies to give out at a speaking event, I would still have to pay the same amount. Like I don't even get it's just the way they do it. I don't even get a discount with it. So the way to do it is to set up like an Amazon Associates link so that, and then use that link yourself to do it. So that's a great question. We had a tenant in one of my personal New Jersey properties that was a bit of a squatter. So personally, this woman, she had no intention of ever paying rent. Like she was what I call a professional tenant. And if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that when I bought these properties in New Jersey, it was a bit of a case study. And I'll never buy another rental property in New Jersey ever again based on that, because it's not a landlord-friendly state, and it was high taxes, and it was a whole nightmare. So on my personal portfolio, yes, I had to deal with that. But as far as our properties with Morris Invest and the properties with our property management team in Texas, they've been fantastic. They're all jobs, and they're all working at a local hospital, the local tech companies that are there, the health technology companies, universities. That so people didn't lose their jobs, and Texas is the most landlord friendly state in the country. So again, Charles Lewis, thank you for the question here. Hey, Mr. Morris, it's Clayton Morris, but sometimes people think my last name is my first name. Anyway, let me try to rephrase my question. I have a property that needs rehabbing. Is it easier to secure a rehab loan being an LLC or not? It's easier to secure. It depends on what. First of all, a couple things here. Is it a commercial property? Because it's a commercial property, then an LLC is no problem, and that's going to be fine. As a commercial loan and a construction loan with that's a different entity. If it's a residential property, then it's probably going to be easier for you to do it in your own name as a person rather than LLC. But again, I would talk to your local banks, because we've reached out on different construction loans in different states, and they're all kind of different. Talk to your local banks. I'm not talking like Wells Fargo and this big one. Find like a local bank near the home that you're renovating. Okay. They are dying for business. They're being beat up by these big banks. They want your business. Ask them that question. How do you own the property currently? Is it in an LLC, or is it in your own name? And just ask them, say, we own this property in our own name. Is it easier or better for us to, we'd like to rehab the house. We'd like to get a construction loan on the property. Do you need it to be in an LLC, or do you need it in our own name? Chances are they're going to want it in your own name. It's less liability for them if it's in your personal name. Remember, if it's an LLC, then if there's an issue, they can only come after that LLC. So typically a bank is not going to want it in an LLC. To do a quick claim deed, do I need to go to the state to do this? Honestly, a lawyer can handle that for you, Don, like for a few $100s for a quick claim deed. I know Corporate Direct does it. You may find it a little bit cheaper at some other law firms to do a quick claim deed. You'll want to do it, if I'm not mistaken, in the state. You'll want to find a law firm that'll do it in the state where the property is located. And it should be, honestly, we've done them. We've done a lot of them. My wife and I have, and they're usually a few $100s, very cheap. Charles, you are welcome, my friend. You are welcome. Yeah, I mean, and by the way, on this CDC question, is it Bonifacia? I wonder how you pronounce your name, Boniface. Great name, by the way. How are your rentals performing with the CDC moratorium, the eviction moratorium? Bottom line is, President Biden knew that this was illegal. I mean, the Supreme Court had already weighed in on this being illegal to have this moratorium. So, as we wrote in the newsletter this week, in our real estate newsletter, I think if you got it on over the weekend. By the way, if you haven't signed up for our Morris Invest newsletter, go to morrisinvest.com/email. It's free. We put all kinds of great real estate related news and content during the week to help you become a better real estate investor. And it's free. So the Biden administration knew this was illegal. I mean, they had the ruling from the Supreme Court that basically said you need Congress to pass a law for this eviction moratorium to be enforced and in place. They did not. Congress didn't do anything. And so at midnight, like over the weekend, when this eviction moratorium was about to be let up, and there was all this mad scrambling at the last minute, he basically jumped at the last second, called his friend Lawrence Tribe up at Harvard, and said, hey, can I do this? And he's like, yeah, I think you can do it. So he did it, knowing it'll probably be overturned and not enforceable. And he sort of bought himself some time for a few months. So this whole CDC moratorium thing it's a Band-Aid solution. And the amount of like hoops and hurdles you need to jump through in order to make it a reality is garbage as well. You have to be in a zone where there's a certain number of COVID cases that are active, and then you can qualify. I mean, it's a whole, it's not, it's a mess. It's a mess. Oh, Don says, I wanted to thank you for the gift. You're welcome. Sherman asks, how do you determine what are the best schools in a location when evaluating local markets to invest? I mean, at the very simplest level, you're looking at there's a rating system for schools. I don't know if we can put the website here in the chat for Sherman to look at, but just at a high level, you'll see the scoring of school districts on the website. A, B, C, D, et cetera, right? So there's a national web, I think it's national, where you can at least start there and you can see what are the best school districts. Okay, that's the easiest way to start to see it. And then all you need to do, then once we start our ground research before we ever start building new construction properties in a particular area, we want to know, based on our discussions, based on the test scores from the students, the schools who have the best test scores, what are the schools that are like most kids end up going to college, teacher turnover, all of that is incredibly important. So all of that is on the rating system. And then we're talking to the property management teams as well. And then you really find out very quickly when you're doing your analysis of a community, where do people want to live? What are the school districts that everyone wants their kids in because they have the best test scores, they have the best teachers, they have the best rapport, they have the best data, they have the best score online. So like in West Texas, the Friendship School District, I mean, everyone wants to be in that district. So we bought land in that district, and that's why we have a waiting list for tenants in those properties. And so that's one way to start. I don't know if we have the website in front of us, though. I have it bookmarked somewhere. I just don't have it in front of me. So Sherman, that's the easiest, fastest way. So awesome, guys. So I've actually got my mother is visiting for 2 weeks, and so I'm playing tour guide while she's here. So I took a little time out here to do our live stream today. So I'm going to go check in on. She was doing grandma duty with the 3 kids today, playing with them. So I'm going to check in on her and see how she's doing. Yeah, there we go. Thank you for posting that. The Best School Districts website there in the chat, Sherman, if you want to click on that. But thanks to everyone for tuning in today. Again, if you would like to book a call with our team, you can do so right now. Just go to morrisinvest.com. That's the website. Very easy to book a call with us. Pick the time and a little calendar will pop up, and you pick the time, the 30-minute window that you want. And then please put in your phone number correctly and your email address so we can call you at that time. And then also you're going to check your spam folder because we'll send you a PDF download ahead of our phone call that we want you to fill out. It's short and sweet, but that way you'll be prepared ahead of our phone call. And then we'll look forward to talking with you about real estate investing and seeing what your goals are. That's really what we want to do on the phone. So thanks, everyone. Much love to all of you. Hope you have a great rest of your week. These dog days of summer, a few more weeks left till the kids go back to school. Thank God. Thank God. We'll see you next time.